Welcome back to the SOAS concert series for another online concert and discussion. Today's event's going to be slightly different from some of the concerts that we've been running over the last few months. We're going to have the conversation with the artists before we actually screen the piece of sound art that they've made, to give you some context about what it is that they've done and the politics and the art behind what it is that they've made. And then we'll screen Zsuzsanna Ardó and Golfam Khayam's amazing piece of art, Why Would We Remain? So I'll now pass over to Laudan Nushin, who is a professor of music at City University, to introduce the artists and talk to them about what it is that they've made and that you're going to see shortly.
Welcome everyone to this artist discussion session. My name is Laudan Nushin. I'm an educator, researcher and writer based in the music department at City University in London, and I'm going to be in discussion with Golfam Khayam and Zsuzsanna Ardó. We're discussing a piece of artwork called Why Would We Remain? And I'm going to start by asking the artists to introduce themselves, and then we will go into discussion. So Golfam, can I start with you? Please introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Golfam Khayam. I'm composer, improviser, performer. I'm currently based in Tehran, and it's a great pleasure to be here and great pleasure to collaborate with Zsuzsanna Ardó.
Hi everyone, I'm Zsuzsanna Ardó. I'm a visual artist and a writer. I also work as a curator and educator. I'm from London, originally from Budapest. Looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you very much. Perhaps one of you could start off by talking about how your artistic collaboration started. How did you meet and how did you come to talk about? Have you worked before together, or is this your first collaboration? Zsuzsanna.
We met, Golfam and I, in an opera workshop originally 2 years ago. And then when I was writing, thinking of, working out the details of an opera, I thought of Golfam's music, and then we started working together there. And so in that process, this poem came to me to maybe if she would be interested in collaborating on this, and that's how it started, really.
Okay, let's go in to talk about the piece then. So again, if you don't mind, Golfam, I'll just start with Zsuzsanna, and then we'll get on to talk about the music. So Zsuzsanna, can you tell us a bit about this work and where the inspiration came from?
Yes.
And the process, really. Yeah.
We like to think in categories, which can be helpful. It's like a Darwinian survival tool, but in fact, life is not like that, of course. So I work as a writer and as an artist, and this poem came about from a situation where I was actually working as an artist. I was doing land art installations about climate change in particular. I went around the shorelines of England, and I put up these land art installations, which are very, it's painting the landscape with red umbrellas, basically. And it's quite a time-consuming process. And so there are people on the shore, and these people would come to me. And although English people tend to be very reserved, they were so curious that they started talking to me. So this was a wonderful opportunity to get out of London and, to talk to hundreds of people. And because at the same time, the Brexit referendum was going on in 2018, after we started talking spontaneously, inevitably Brexit came up. People wanted to talk about it. And so I got a wonderful understanding of the pain and the thinking, how people thought about belonging, what what home meant to them, what Europe meant to them. And there was one particular conversation which inspired the poem. It was a very dramatic conversation in Yorkshire. And I wrote the poem after that. And when I was writing the poem, I was thinking of Donne and many other things. And I could actually hear various sounds in my mind, which I then told Golfam in preparation. And it occurred to me that John Donne knew so much better what we know scientifically now. So at the time, he knew that, I'm involved in mankind, and, one piece of the continent is the piece of the piece and the continent at the same time. And now we talk about the butterfly effect, and we know scientifically that we are completely interconnected, and whatever happens, doesn't matter where, it will wreak havoc somewhere else. And then in this time of butterfly effect consciousness, we still can't kind of psychologically react the way Donne did at the time.
Thank you very much. And I was just reflecting that although this piece of work is more than just about Brexit, it's about much more kind of wider issues of belonging and so on. So speaking as someone who was born in this country but never really felt I belonged properly, that the poem speaks at so many levels in a way that was very heightened after the Brexit. It wasn't a new thing of that sense of not belonging, but somehow those issues very much came to the fore. So I think for me, the words that you've the words of this piece speak very powerfully. So thank you for that. Let's turn to the music now. So Golfam, could you tell us a bit about your inspiration, your working methods, and how you approached this piece?
Yes, obviously the material that I received from Zsuzsanna was the first point of departure for the creative process. I received all these narrations of different people that recite this beautiful poem. And then she suggested that I use the sound sample of North Sea as well as the Mind the Gap, which was really interesting and in a way very exciting. But then I was confronting this material, and in a way I wanted to find myself into that. So we had a lot of discussions about the poem, and then this kind of globality of this of the concept of this poem, which is not necessarily related. I mean, it's based on the Brexit matter, but it's kind of a global matter, especially in the time period that we are living now. And therefore, I felt that this kind of inner dialogue, or in this kind of confrontation of East and West, kind of as an inner line or inner texture in this music would be very relevant in a way. So the first technical process that I wanted to do was the fact that how to use all these voices, because Zsuzsanna insisted that all these great people, they invested so much time, and it's not necessarily that we want to take one voice. We want to have everyone. So then I made this collage of different excerpts of all these voices that I received, and it was really very personal perception of myself towards this poem, that there are some parts that I particularly really like, that we would hear, some words to have more emphasis on. And there were particular accents that I really loved, and I wanted them to be bold. And then, so it's kind of a collage of that. And then underneath, there are many other layers of electronics and of my guitar that I perform. And at the end, the highlight of the poem is once we hear the human voice that comes in, and all the intentions were kind of make a hidden bridge between these two East and West words.
Thanks very much. Yes, I think there are so many subtle points in this work, and the Mind the Gap, I think, is quite brilliant in many ways. I'm interested to know, Golfam, have you been to London? Have you heard that announcement on the Underground? You have?
Yes, I have been to London, and I very much associate this to Sound of London. And it was Zsuzsanna's idea to bring this Mind the Gap. And I use this, also I manipulate it and kind of work it in various excerpts, that the sound of the train is kind of is used underneath. But I think it happens 2 or 3 times that we hear Mind the Gap.
And again, the sounds of the North Sea and that sort of that point of separation, the physical separation between the UK and the rest of Europe is a very very interesting. Again, I'm interested to know, have you heard the sounds of the North Sea before yourself?
Yes, of course. And the sound that I took, actually I took it, it would have been very maybe better that I would record it myself, but it was during pandemic and I wasn't traveling. And so I took it from archives, from internet archives.
Right, interesting. Thank you. Zsuzsanna, could I ask a question about the different voices that were recorded then? So were these, I see the list of names of the people who said the words of the poem. Are these friends of yours, or how did you choose them?
Well, I wanted to have a pool of different accents and a pool of different English accents as well, and from different cultural backgrounds, etc., to somehow echo what the UK is about, really. And some of the people are my friends, others are the friends of friends. So this is how it goes. And it was very interesting. People took it very seriously and rehearsed. They told me several times. A friend from Germany, for example, she took such trouble to rehearse it properly. So it was wonderful to work with them. And the reason why I thought it was important not to pick one particular accent is because it's not about one narrative. That is the problem, when one narrative dominates. You need to realize that it's a collage of narratives that make history.
Thank you. And
that, by the way, that one voice, that one narrative, inevitably tends to be a male voice and a male narrative. So that is another issue, but that's another poem.
Yeah, and it's a very powerful and beautiful collage of voices. I've got some other general questions, but let me just come back to Golfam for a couple of questions about the music. So I was interested in the singer who sings. This is somebody I know you've worked with before. Could you tell us a bit about, because you talk about how, you know, the kind of reaching that sort of climax with that female voice. Can you say a little bit about how why you chose that and why it was important?
For me, it was important to have a human voice at the end when we have this conclusion of, after there's a suspension in the poem, and because. And then when we hear the conclusion of the poem, I really wanted a human voice. The voice is Haleh Seyfizadeh. She's a singer based in Tehran. And the other issue is that she's not, I mean, any female vocalist is not allowed to record officially. And this was recorded underground in an underground studio. And I had this excerpt and I used it, and underneath there are many other layers that were happening before, as the North Sea, as the sound of the noise of the underground, the noise of the, so we have all these layers coming together in a very, very narrow and fragile way.
I also couldn't help noticing that you used, there seemed to be some inspiration from Dido's Lament from Purcell's opera Dido and Aeneas. Can you say a little bit about that? I was intrigued. I thought, I wasn't sure to start with if that was but then I realized it was a reference.
Yes, there is a reference. There's a very hidden reference of that. I wanted to use something really English that would relate itself musically, and also something that has this lamentation. So I took that and kind of reworked and reshaped it. And then there is kind of another part that it's kind of resembles like Dowland, John Dowland's works, but it's not quite John Dowland. It's kind of John Dowland wandering in I don't know, streets of London or, you know, today. So these two were kind of like musical references that I wanted to kind of relate it to the this inner dialogue of Zsuzsanna and John Donne in a way.
I'm interested to know whether do you think that this piece of work might change views around issues of migration and belonging? Could it have the power to do that?
Well, I mean, first, how I relate to my work, you know, I think most artists, I work when I'm motivated to work or I'm commissioned to work, and that's another motivation, about something that matters. And if it matters to me, then it inspires me. And then it kind of fills my whole body. I mean, it's a very visceral, strong, physical feeling. I'm sure Golfam can attest to this. And it's almost like it's burning inside you and you have to get it out. You have no choice. So there is no, on my part at least, there is no calculation of how people will receive it or why exactly I'm doing it. At that point, it has to come out, and it's burning and it's being created. The other side of the same question that you asked was whether art has an impact on people. And I think that there is plenty of evidence that art is extremely powerful, can have a very strong impact on lives and history. No wonder that, for example, in the Renaissance, what did the church do? I mean, all the artists were sponsored by the church, and why did the church pour millions into it? Because they knew that art was powerful, and the state tries to do the same now. So there is no question that art impacts on people. In fact, much more than science or rational arguments. So there have been many psychological and cognitive psychology kind of tests, according to which people understand reasoning, people understand numbers and statistics. I mean, take climate change. We know the facts. It is not enough. But once they see the red umbrellas on the seashore, and what it means, etc., they will remember that, and it will impact on their behavior patterns. But you can't, of course, draw a red line between seeing the red umbrella and then doing something else. It's much more subtle. I should maybe mention one thing about the video that will follow after our discussion. The video incorporates, of course, primarily Golfam's music, my poems, but also some artwork. The artwork in part is mine, and in part it is part of a previous film where I created a series of images. Well, it was inspired by Brexit, in fact, but it was the same idea as this poem. And I asked several artists, again, in the UK and beyond as a creator, to create images. So what you will see in the video is partly these artists responding how they feel about this without giving them any further brief. It was totally up to them how they respond. And partly my images and my installations. I think that is the context for people who are going to do this.
For me, the context, as obviously I was not feeling directly Brexit as Zsuzsanna did, but that the work itself was speaking to me and very inspiring and very close and very deeply felt for the fact that the question of belonging and not belonging is something that we confront very often, and in particular for people like myself that they studied abroad, they worked abroad, and then they come back, they establish themselves as artists in the country, and obviously you keep your relations and you keep your professional engagements with abroad, and this coming back and forth kind of confuses, and you don't know where to belong. I mean, where you belong to anymore, in a way. So
mankind.
Yeah,
So
and I think this feeling of kind of what you describe is increasingly the norm as opposed to kind of the exception in terms of human experience, that many of us belong to many places, and as Zsuzsanna says, we're all human beings, and ultimately because I've heard so many people express the same feelings, and as if somehow, but feeling quite as if it's only them that's experiencing this, right? But I think many of us experience this in different ways, and as I say, I think it becomes more the norm than the exception. So yes, well, I think we've probably outrun our time. So I just wanted to thank you both for engaging in this discussion, and also for creating such a beautiful piece of artwork. And I wish you both well, and I wish this wonderful piece well. And thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Why would we remain? The Land Rover skips from bump to bump. They don't like us. Manic, mournful gaze.
They don't like us.
He says,
manic, mournful gaze rivets
although
ahead.
the very best,
He says,
we
why?
never win Eurovision
Although the
Song
very
Contest,
best,
Forever
We
they
never
dominate.
win Eurovision
Why
Song
would we
Contests.
remain?
Forever they dominate.
Why would we remain? Every man is a piece of the continent, part of the main.
Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main.
Why would we remain? Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. Bumpety bump we go, wheels struggle, long for the past, self-image dented. Where's our place? Clever them, those continentals, he says. Why?
Why? They humiliate us, outsmart us, no fair game. Best retreat to our island, sans pain. Why would we remain?
Why would we remain? Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. Why they humiliate, outsmart us, no fair game. Best retreat to our own island, sans pain. Why would we remain? If a cloud be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less. Wheels spin on fits air, valves spit sand, ungrateful as ever, they don't remember.
Wheels spin on fizzy air, valves spit sand, ungrateful as
Why
ever.
would we remain?
They don't remember.
If a cloud be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less. Wheels spin on fizzy air, valves spit sand, ungrateful as ever, they don't remember.
Mind the gap.
Ungrateful as ever. They don't remember we saved their ass in 2 world wars, he says. Why again and again they disdain us, bleed our identity, glory, drain our veins. Why would we remain?
Spin off busy valves spit sand. Ungrateful as ever, they don't remember. We saved their ass in 2 world wars, he says. Why? Again and again, they disdain us, bleed our identity, glory, drain our veins.
Ungrateful as ever, they don't remember.
Bleed our
We
identity,
saved their ass in 2
glory,
world
drain
wars, he
our
says.
veins. Why would
Why
we
again and again
Glory,
they disdain
drain
us,
our veins.
bleed our identity, glory, drain our veins. Why would you remain?
Again and again they disdain us, bleed our identity, glory, drain our veins.
Glory,
Why
drain
would
our
we
veins. Why would we remain?
Mind the gap.
Again and again they disdain us, bleed our identity, glory, drain our veins. Why would you remain?
Again and again they disdain us, bleed our identity, glory, drain our veins. Why would you remain?
Because
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 Because I'm involved in mankind.
I'm involved in mankind.
Because I'm involved in mankind.
Because I am involved in mankind.
Because I am involved in mankind.
Because I'm involved in mankind.
Because I am involved in mankind.
Because I'm involved in mankind.
Because I am involved in mankind.
I'm involved in mankind.
Because I am involved in mankind.